You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.
Thank you so much for joining me for another amazing episode of the Daily African Proverbs. My name is Simon. I am in Seattle, Washington, and today I have a really special guest here with me. Wiani Abraha is going to be my guest today, and I'm sure you are most likely meeting Wiani for the first time, but you know, she's someone we connected with I think a little over 2 years ago, just in the streets of Clubhouse and social media. And I just want you to know that she's an incredible real estate expert, humanitarian, and also an entrepreneur. We are going to learn a little more about her and the work that she's doing. I currently want to just let her say hello to you while I set up the Clubhouse part of our conversation here. Wiani, how are you doing, and where are you joining us from?
Hello, Simon. Hello, everybody. My name is Wayne, and I am actually joining from Canada, Winnipeg, Manitoba. And I'm really honored to be here. Thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor.
Thank you so much, Wayne. Wayne, could you move a little bit to the right? The other way. Right there. That's perfect.
Oh,
That's perfect. Yeah. It's more than better. It's just perfect. Thank you so much. I want to also pin the link to the conversation so that those who are on Clubhouse can check it out. But I'm truly excited. It's exactly 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And we have an amazing proverb from Kenya. I am from Kenya originally. So when it comes to proverbs that are from, my motherland, I always just want to learn more, because a lot of these proverbs are things that I grew up with, but I want to hear what other people say about them. So if you are joining us also for the Daily African Proverbs for the very first time, we gather here and we share African proverbs. If you go to my Instagram, you'll find these proverbs. They're shared there a few hours before this live stream happens, as well as my Twitter and other social media platforms, LinkedIn and Facebook. So you'll find this same proverb across all those other platforms. And the proverb today from Kenya says that at the harvest, you know how good the millet is. At the harvest, you know how good the millet is. And today's conversation is going to have the following structure. One, I'm going to share the 3 takeaways for this episode that my team prepared for you, our listeners and our viewers. Number 2, I'm going to ask Wiani to share with us her own interpretation of this proverb. And then we are going to learn about a childhood story, something that inspires Wiani today as a leader, and then we are going to talk about some of her biggest accomplishments, when it comes to real estate, when it comes to humanitarianism, and when it comes to entrepreneurship. What are some of the highlights that Wiani wants to share with us today? And then we will hear from you, our audience members, especially those who are on Clubhouse. You will be able to share, your own interpretation of this proverb, or a few comments in regards to the conversation that I'm having here with Wiani, and then we will wrap up our session right after that. So just to help us get started, I want to share the 3 takeaways for this episode. And these takeaways are based on, the idea of the power of grit. This proverb speaks to the power of grit. And as you listen to our conversation today, hopefully you will be able to learn a little more about why. The first takeaway is the power of focus. When you focus on your goal, you are more likely to achieve it. When you focus on your goal, you are more likely to achieve it. With the Daily African Proverbs, this show here that we are all enjoying right now, It began as just a mindfulness practice for me, especially a little over a year and a half ago. But now it's something that is a staple for many people across the world. As you will hear some of the comments from our audience members, you learn that people are joining us from very many different corners of the world. So, number 2, the power of passion. Having a strong emotional connection to your goal will keep you motivated through tough times, and then number 3, the power of purpose. Knowing why you want to achieve a certain goal is very essential for staying motivated and staying on course, even through the most, enjoyable times, but also through the most difficult times. So those are the takeaways, from me. And I want to bring my guest on. If you haven't joined us on YouTube, this is a good time for you to join us over there. I want to welcome just quickly Kay and Roger and Brother. Thank you for joining us. I also see quite a few people in the audience there, from Samson to Eliza. Thank you for joining us. Feel free to ping in 3 to 5 people to join us for the conversation. And now I want to come to you, Wieni Abraha. Earlier on, you shared with me that, you're doing great, and you're joining us from where in Canada again? I just want to make sure.
Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Where is that in Canada?
It is a small city. It's actually central, but it's not very big, so people are not too familiar. People usually think of Toronto and like Montreal, BC, and nobody really cares about Winnipeg. But we're here.
Yeah, well, you are one of the coolest people I know. So the fact that you're there, it means that it's a place to add to your bucket list. So share with me your own perspective when you hear this proverb, at the harvest, you know how good the millet is. What is it that comes to your mind when you hear this?
At the harvest, you know what a good millet is. You know what? I think usually when I hear a quote, I usually think of the first thing that comes to me, and the first thing that came to me when I heard this particular one is that you know good things take time. Sometimes it's just really like the process of getting there is usually just not really envisioned. And so the first thing that I thought about was, okay, so the end result is going to be good, but the biggest work that we have to do is visualization. Usually, when we're trying to get to our goal, our destination, we don't really envision how we're gonna get there or what the end result is going to be. But I think the better we visualize, the more sweeter the results become. And I'm very big on visualizing and manifesting things that we want in our lives. So in order for us to really get to that good millet, to that good result, we really have to be able to visualize, and not just our journey but also the end result. And that's really what the first thing that really stood out for me is the fact that in order for us to enjoy the end result, we have to be able to visualize it. We have to be able to internalize and enjoy the process and the journey, and really kind of like have a very very full idea of what it is that we're going for. And I think as an entrepreneur, as somebody that's in the real estate industry, visualization is one thing that I constantly have to work on. It is a practice. Otherwise you kind of doing whatever it is that you're doing without having a destination or like a taste of where you're heading or what the end result is going to be. So that was the first thing that stood out for me.
I love that. I love that visualization. I do that a lot. I do that a lot with a lot of projects that I'm working on. I'm always visualizing the end result. I'm always imagining. For example, I produce a lot of festivals. In fact, I'm producing Madaraka Festival on August 13th and 14th here in Seattle, Washington. And I've gone to the venue many times already and visualized people there, the artists on the stage.
Yes.
I've looked at the map of the entire space and placed different, things in different locations, and then dropped everything, then revisualized it again, and it's bringing everything together. Everybody that I began putting in the vision are committing to that vision somehow. I didn't tell them that your process, you are part. Yeah, you are part of the process of visualization. But I just love how you broke it down. Now, to all who are joining us on Clubhouse, thank you. For all who are joining us on YouTube, thank you. Please make sure you subscribe to my YouTube channel. The link is at the top of the room. And make sure you push the thumbs up button so that next time we are live, YouTube notifies you. If you're on Clubhouse, make sure you're pinging in 3 to 5 people to join us for this conversation. People that you think really need to be here for this incredible interview that I'm having with my wonderful sister, Wiani Abraha, who is joining us from Winnipeg. Growing up, I used to hear about Winnipeg. But then it disappeared until today.
Okay. Yeah, here we are.
Anyhow, so I want you to take us to. I want to take you to the next question that I normally ask my guest speakers. And this question, it's in relation to a childhood story that inspires you today as a leader. And for many of our guests, I always tell them my own story of what inspires me as a leader in what I do, whether it's with the African Father in America podcast that we are recording right now, whether it's as a father of my 3 girls, whether it's as the founder of One Vibe Africa. The story that inspires me the most is this moment. It was around 8 to 12 years old. When I was around that age, I was given a bicycle and I was shown an area in our community that I would be distributing milk and bread to every day in the morning before going to school. And this gave me such a huge sense of responsibility at a young age. It also taught me how to coexist with our community members, very diverse community in Kenya where I grew up. And also it taught me how to do business from a very young age, and how to take ownership of my, what I commit to, and so I want you to share with us your own story. What is it that helps you with your work in real estate, your work as a humanitarian, and also your work as an entrepreneur? What is it that always drives you and inspires you to keep pushing on?
I think we kind of have slightly similar stories as well. I did grow up in a very small town, actually, I should say, a small village in northern Ethiopia. I actually belong to a very small indigenous group. I think there's about 40,000 people like myself who speak the same language. So it is a very small indigenous community. And growing up, basically, everybody, I grew up in a very solid community. Like the sense of belonging was a very, very, I always had roots. I know exactly where I belonged. I know who I was. So that was a really good foundation for me growing up. However, life events take turns, and things happen, unexpected things happen. And at a very young age, when I was around 13, I had to flee my village with my young brother, and we actually ended up going to Uganda as a refugee. I think that was a really huge turning point in my life, because of course, the challenges aside, I learned a lot of life lessons. Like the fact that basically being able to adapt to a new environment, to a new culture, to a new lifestyle. And I think it built a lot of resilience in me. And eventually I did end up in Canada. So by the time I came here, some of the things that I had that really kind of like, by the time I got here, I was already, the initial part is I had a solid foundation, because I came from a very beautiful interconnected community that really respected its originality and indigenuity. But then by the time I came here, of course, there's different maybe perceptions and understandings and stuff about who you are or who you could be. But I just was very unshakable because of who I was and I am to this day. So one of the really interesting things I would say throughout my journey is the fact that I have a solid identity, but also the fact that I'm actually really flexible to learn, to grow, to interact with other people, to meet, to network. And those things really really helped me in my career, because everybody that knows me knows that I am a people's person. But I think that came from initially just being really grounded in my identity, but knowing that identity as itself is actually a social construct. And those things, like, you can read it on books, but the more you travel, the more you're forced to step out of who you are. And that's when you really truly understand that every place that you go to have its own version of identity for you. But once you know who you truly are in the core, I think you can really utilize the fact that people are different, and that's actually a strength. So now I think my biggest skill is really that networking and connecting with people, because I just know that who they are is a beautiful thing, and who I am is a beautiful thing. And it's through that we can create a community, create a business, create entrepreneurship opportunities for ourselves. Because at the end of the day, no matter who you are, no matter what your journey is, you're nobody without people. So I am very very people oriented person. I genuinely love people, and it just is an easy thing for me. And I think the fact that I'm grounded in my identity and who I was raised up to be really helps me until this day.
I love that. I love that a lot. By the way, thank you for making the time for this interview. It means a lot. When you said yes, I was just excited. And I want you to also share the quote that you said you'd share with us in relation to this question. Do you want to share that too?
Yeah, so like I grew up with grandma, and my grandma always told me, do not let people choose you. You have to be able to choose the people that you want to be surrounded with. And she always said that we're actually a result of our environment. And that, as I grow up, really sticks with me, because I know that people are easily shaped by the environment and who they surround themselves with. And in business, especially, you realize that that's actually a really crucial thing. You have to know who is going to help you get to your destination, who you're going to help get to their destination, because it's not about who helps you, but it's also who you help. The more people you help, the faster you get to your destination as well. So that is one thing that always stands out with me, because my grandma would always tell me that, make sure you know who you're surrounding yourself with.
I love that. You said so many quotes in a very short time. Make sure you are helping people, because the more people you help, the closer you're getting to your destination. I love that. That's a really powerful piece. And also know who you are surrounded with. It's your choice. Life is about who is around you. And that's a choice we can all make. That's a really good reminder for me. I love that. I love that. I just want to recognize our beautiful YouTube audience members. Thank you. Share with us in the comments who you are, where you're joining us from. I just want to, let my guest know that I'm not alone in this moment. And also, if you're joining us on Clubhouse, make sure you are engaging over there in the chat. You're sharing the room. You're clipping it, and if you're an Instagram kind of person, this proverb is on my Instagram handle, which is at Okelo Javan. Go over there and engage with it. I'll respond to your comment later on today. So we are having an amazing conversation. My guest today is Wiani Abraha, who is a real estate expert, an humanitarian, and also an entrepreneur. So far, we've learned Wiani's interpretation of this proverb from Kenya. This proverb is the center of our conversation today. It says that the harvest, I'll say it one more time. At the harvest, you know how good the millet is. At the harvest, you know how good the millet is. The millet is such a good grain for ugali, which is one of our staple foods in Kenya. It's one of the most nutritious grains for making ugali, and it's a little more pricier than maize. So if you mix the millet with sorghum, with cassava, it's even a better quality of ugali flour. So for those who are watching, the millet, if you look at this proverb in depth, the millet and grains in general represent, they represent life and food that people really depend on. If you go to many households and you're eating, if the millet or ugali is not there, people feel like they didn't eat, even if you gave them the biggest piece of chicken with rice, they want to see their traditional food there. So this proverb also has even a deeper meaning than we have already shared with you. So I want you all to be thinking of your own interpretation and share with us in a moment. We are going to give you space in just a moment. At this time, I want to move even deeper with you, Wiani. I want you to just take us on a journey of your work as a real estate expert, your work as a humanitarian, and an entrepreneur, and share with us maybe one or two stories, but particularly, what is it that makes you most proud? What is it that, when you look back at what you've accomplished, makes you feel that this is something that is probably my biggest accomplishment to date?
So again, as I said, my life was interrupted at a very young age. So I had to flee to Uganda, and so basically I started as a refugee. And there's not too many women I've met in Canada that have gone through, like from just being a refugee to running a real estate empire. That's really what I'm building.
Wiani, I want you to actually take us even a little back into your journey from Ethiopia to Uganda. Like, how was that? Just give us a little glimpse and then bring us back to your work as a real estate mogul.
I usually get too emotional, so I like to just skip it, but we'll get there. If I'm not being emotional, we'll get there. So, so as I said, I was only 13 years old. And I, like, geographically speaking, my tribe lives between the border of Ethiopia Yeah. So we've always, had the border issues. We were kind of, y- like almost, we were always a no peace, no war type of state. But there was, during the early 2000s, there was basically an active war, and it was just really uninhabitable for kids to be living there. So we were told to flee. And my mom, who was really, really desperate, had to send me and my young brother at the age, my young brother was 12, I was 13, to just basically run away. And we ended up in Uganda. And we actually did not have anybody we know there. We just had to make ends meet. Um, so but we did have somebody here in Canada, a family member, who said, he would look after us and help us through it. So we did get here with the help of my uncle Daniel. And when we got to Canada, Winnipeg, Manitoba, I went to school here. I graduated from university with international development and conflict resolution. The first thing I wanted to do was like really try to find out what it is that causes our leaders to sorry to cause so much pain for our people. So I thought, I tried to figure out that part of my journey through school and through academic means. So I did end up studying international development and, of course, conflict resolution. And I did work in the community for quite a while. And I also worked in the international community aspect. I worked with, communities, the organizations that focused in development and helping and humanitarian aspect of things for about 4 years. And then eventually ended up working with refugees. But then I think I found out eventually that the root of all of this is kind of money. So I'm like, where the money at, So I figured, real estate is probably a good place, and I knew a few people who were in real estate. So I am a really, really hardworking person, and I guess my biggest accomplishment throughout my journey has been that anything that I put my mind into, I can accomplish. And I think kind of understanding the science of our mind and the fact that we are actually very elastic. And I did come across through some, like neuroscientific, courses about neuroelasticity, and the fact that we're actually really, really flexible and we can learn and we can grow. Really did help me um, understand that anything I put my mind into can really be accomplished with the right direction, the right guidance, and the right manual on my hand. So I think that's kind of how I ended up in real estate. I did know a few people in real estate, including my uncle, who was also in the industry, and I observed that him and a few other people are doing well. There was at some point in my life where I was a career coach, and I learned that a lot of people, especially here in Canada, and especially people from our, like, the Black community, immigrants, they work really hard. They come to me to find a job for them 6 years, 7 years, 6 years, or 6 months, or a few years down the road. They come back and they ask for a second, a third job because they bought a house, and the houses that they bought was just really like way beyond their budget, and they were not planning very well for it. And so instead of the house working for them, they were working for the house. And that really was kind of the beginning of why I wanted to go into this industry. I did start mostly as an educator, helping people to budget, to understand that it's okay to live within your means, and to like really like visualize where you want to get down the road, but you don't really have to jump into it right now. So the biggest thing was like to just help people, potential homeowners, create a roadmap to their dream home. And that's kind of how it started for me. But I also started investing in real estate when I was doing humanitarian work. I was really, really good at saving. Both me and my partner were really, really good at saving, and planning, because you can not really teach other people and not be implementing those things in your life and in your journey. So I we slowly started investing in real estate, and it was really working for us. And I said, hey, I might as well get into the selling aspect of real estate as well. So right now I'm both a real estate investor, but also I do sell houses, and so I'm also a real estate agent, and that's really how I ended up in the real estate sector.
Wow, thank you so much. Wiani, I want you to look back at your journey educating Africans in Canada, and helping them figure out the best ways to own homes. Share with us one story that when you remember, you feel like, this story is really why I am now sitting here with Simon having this conversation. One
Yeah.
story that really made you feel like this is what I'm going to commit to. I know that you guys are doing well for yourselves, but there are stories behind it, right?
Yeah. So again, as I said, like at the early stage when I was a career coach, there would be people who would come, and there's this particular family, there's this particular guy who was basically working three jobs to really, really make ends meet, to pay for his mortgage, property taxes, all the things that are associated with buying a home and owning a home. And I had actually helped him to kind of go into the investing side of it, not just like buying, because sometimes people buy homes and they think it's an asset. But if you're buying a home that is going to basically cost you way above your earning, it is really a liability. So I had to really sit down with this particular person and uh, look into properties that bring cash flow. And he was very, very keen on it. He always said, it's just, I only want this one house, and this is all really what I've kind of envisioned. But then he was working about three jobs and really not enjoying his home. So we sat down, I helped him, put some money into a savings for quite a while, maybe about 2 years. And then he eventually bought a duplex. And that duplex, of course, at that time I didn't have a real estate agent, my real estate license. I wasn't a licensed professional at that time. So when he bought the property, I was through the journey with him, but I didn't sell the property to him. So right now, this year, I sold his property, and I literally sold it 200 over asking 200, like he gained 200,000 profit on the duplex that he bought about 2 years ago. And he basically paid the previous house, he paid off the previous house that he was working 2-3 jobs for. And he literally texted me about 3 weeks ago and said, for the first time in my life, I can actually focus on just being myself, trying to figure out what it is that I want in my life, whether that's traveling, whether that's, like establishing a family, and just really having a life to himself, and not having to uh, be looking after bills every single day. So that was like, I think so far the biggest accomplishment for me, because now I know how I can kind of guide people. And also, everything that you've done for people are going to make you a better person, and it just gave me so much confidence in me as a person. So that's it.
I love that. I love that. And it reminds me of, earlier on you're saying you are looking for a way to understand why our leaders cause pain to children, to our communities, and you wanted to solve it through, through going back to school, through studying. But here you are solving it. You just you're solving. You're doing something that our leaders can't do. You're giving people an opportunity to actually thrive. And that's so incredible. Wiani, I'm just so proud of you. I want us to invite some of our guests who are on stage on Clubhouse to share just brief comments, their own interpretation of the proverb, and also to let us know where they are joining us from. Please take some notes if you can, so that once we hear from the last speaker on the stage, you can make, you can reflect on what they shared with us. And also, I would love for you to think about how we can all support you, how we can all support you so that you continue doing what you're doing, and how we can all stay connected with you. So I want to come to you, Kay. Kay, thank you for joining us. Kay Hooper, how are you doing today? Where are you joining us from? And what are your perspectives on today's proverb from Kenya?
Hi all, this is Kay Hopper. I'm on Abenaki land, commonly known as Vermont, and this proverb to me means that it's a reminder to stay on current tasks, and if planning on how to use the harvest before the harvest, it's giving advice on false expectations. When striving for objectives, it's recommended to be open to actual outcomes instead of having expectations that may disappoint or devastate. And similar to other sayings, don't put all eggs into one basket, or don't count your chickens before they hatch. It's recommending being flexible enough to be able to adjust to circumstances. It's recommending to stay flexible and grounded and realistic about our expectations. And thank you all for this room.
Fantastic. It reminds me of elasticity that Wiani was speaking about earlier. Let's go on to Lavender. Lavender, how are you? Where are you joining us from? And what are your thoughts in regards to this proverb and the conversation we are having with my guest, Wiani, today? Okay, there you are.
Thank you so much, Simon. Thank you so much, Simon. Wayani, it's a pleasure to hear from you and to listen about your perseverance and building, and finally you're soaring, you're reaping everything you worked for. And this inspires me, being a woman. I'm very I'm very interested in real estate, and this is encouraging to me. Even though I've started small with an interest of understanding how the industry works, this is actually an encouragement that when I keep going, I'll get to where I want to be. And this brings me back to today's proverb. At the harvest, you know how good the millet is. What comes to mind when I think about this proverb is that there's always a smile when you see the results, the good results of what you've worked on. You feel the pride and gratitude of your results. Thank you, Simon. I'm Lavender. I'm speaking from Nairobi, Kenya. Thank you again to everyone for being here.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Simon.
Of course. Thank you, Lavender, for your continued support. I truly appreciate you. Let's go on to Debbie. Debbie, how are you? Where are you joining us from? And what are your perspectives on today's conversation and the proverb that we're discussing from Kenya?
Greetings. Is it my turn?
Yes, it is your turn,
Okay,
Debbie.
I apologize. There was a switch in order, so I lost track. Good afternoon, everybody. Greetings and appreciation to all. I'm Debbie Berlin, joining from Washington, D.C., Game Dev Debbie. First of all, I appreciate the speaker when she spoke about helping her clients with real estate. Because a lot of times, sometimes there's predatory lending and people just want to make a sale and close a deal. But it seems like you care about the person and the people that you're serving and that they will have that long-term financial structure and understanding. So I commend you for that. And also, apologies for the ambient noise. Regarding the proverb, at the harvest, you know how good the millet is. It reminds me of a phrase that says, you will know a tree by its fruit. You can tell a person's character, you can tell what a person is doing and contributing in the world by their actual fruit of their labor. So that's what the proverb speaks to me is, the millet is growing, but at the harvest, you know how good it is, what was actually put into the soil and how it was nurtured. Thank you for allowing me to share.
You're most welcome, Debbie. Thank you again. I actually skipped Steve. I didn't see that, that was the order, but I truly appreciate your perspectives. Let's hear from Stephen briefly. Stephen, how are you? Where are you joining us from? And what are your perspectives on the proverb and any comments to my special guest? Thank you.
Thank you, Simon. Hello, everyone. I'm Steven, joining from Kisumu, Kenya, and I'm happy to be with all of you in this session. I just want to say that I'm very pleased and happy, and I've learned a lot from what our guests have shared about real estate, about our childhood experience, and from the biblical perspective, I would just love to encourage that everything that we pass through with a reason. So maybe you are being molded to be somebody greater than what you are today. So it's a preparation for your greatness. Keep soldiering on and keep doing great things that you're doing in your life. My understanding of today's proverb is at the harvest, you know how good the millet is. This proverb have kept me thinking because I have planted millet in my small kitchen garden back at home, and I'm trying to contemplate how good the harvest is while reflecting at how many birds are always picking my millet. But my understanding is when we are solely doing something in solidarity or the power of solidarity. That's what I understand from this millet, this proverb, that every good thing comes from a union, comes from togetherness, comes from brotherhood, and doing whatever you do as one. Thank you, Simon. That was my moment. And back to you. Thank you for having me again.
Of course. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate you. Dave, Bibi, how are you doing today? And share with us your perspectives on the proverb and any comment on our special guest today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Simon. Good morning. How are you feeling today?
So, but I'm alive. That's what is most important, and I'm here, soldiering on.
Just remember this too shall pass, and just keep being hydrated, because that's the most important thing, especially with this COVID. Because I remember when my whole family we had it, and it was something different, and it kind of brought us together at the same time because we all um, had to stick together and just do everything and stay here when it was really bad. So just stay positive, and I hope you get better soon.
Thank you. I appreciate that a lot. Yeah, being isolated together with your family really, teaches you who is most important in your life, and how you show up for them, even the little kids. When you see, for me, the hardest thing is seeing little children sick. That's the hard part. But anyway, thank you, baby. You're wonderful.
You're welcome. All right, back to the proverb. And who's our guest today? So I didn't get to hear. I didn't know who was speaking.
Our guest today is Wiani Abraha, and she's a real estate mogul. She's an humanitarian and also an entrepreneur. She's joining us from Winnipeg, Canada.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, I truly admired your story of perseverance, and it's very inspiring, especially with me being from Africa and also coming from war-torn country, then having to settle here and make things for our own self. It's a very empowering story, and I love your journey and everything that you went through to be where you are today. That's a very beautiful story, and keep doing you. That's very like sorry, I'm here with Tatiana. She's up right now. She's trying to talk at the same time too.
It's the perfect ambient sound. Debbie was saying sorry for the ambient sound, but one of the things that I love about this is listening to the ambience that everybody brings as they share. So don't even say anything about it.
All right, thanks. When it comes to a proverb, it just takes me to this. Well, I won't go completely to the story, but the short part it just says, "This too shall pass." That no matter what we is experiencing at this moment, at the end of the day, there's a light always, and nothing is permanent in life. All your hard work and pain, it's all gonna pass, and good times will come. And even when that good time comes, it's not gonna last forever at the same time again. It's like everything in our life always comes in a full circle, and just to keep in mind that no matter what, this too shall pass. And that's my take for today. Thank you so much.
You're most welcome. Thank you again. Yeah, everything is temporary. As long as you have the patience and the endurance to persevere, then everything is going to be great. Now we have Stella, who is going to just share her perspectives as well as our last guest, and then we come back to you, Wiani, to share your reflections on everything you heard our guests speak to, but also your closing remarks, and also how we can all support you and the amazing work that you do. So Stella, how are you doing, and where are you joining us from, and what are your own perspectives on this proverb, and any comments to our special guest today? Stella must be away from her phone, so we will give you time. Whenever you're ready, just double tap your mic and I'll be able to bring you back. I'll be able to give you space so that you can speak. I want to say thank you to all our audience members, whether you're on Clubhouse, whether you are on YouTube, whether you will be listening or watching this later on. Without you, this is incomplete. And every day we gather here, we share beautiful African proverbs with the hope that we learn something from them. We gain African wisdom, and also with the idea of remembering that these proverbs are not new. These proverbs were discussed by our ancestors, and they were gold, and they're still gold today. So we are trying to make the best use of African proverbs and preserve them for our children and our children's children. That's why we are having special guests who can also help us dissect them from their own perspectives. So my guest today, the incredible Wiani Abraha, joined us from Canada, and we talked about her own perspective of this proverb. We talked about a story from her childhood that inspires who she is today. We also talked about some of the biggest accomplishments that she has had in her career, in real estate, as an humanitarian, and also as an entrepreneur. And now we also heard from all of you. I want to give you space, Wiani, to reflect on what you heard, and then share with us, a few closing remarks and how we can support you.
I appreciate you guys all. Thank you so much for those beautiful, encouraging words. I think the one, if I was to wrap this whole thing up, is that everything that happens in our lives happens for us, not to us. It's a really beautiful way of understanding our journey, especially people that have had to go through traumas. And and speaking of traumas, like some of us like just have leaders who pass traumas into us as if it's some sort of intergenerational wealth. But where the intergenerational wealth really lies is in real estate. So I would like to encourage my community, and anybody that I come across to really look into real estate, as an asset class that could be not just good for you, but something that your kids and your generations to come can really like reap the fruits and enjoy the millets of. And I think and in terms of that, I'm always the best person to reach out to, just because of the journeys that I've went to, not just as somebody who like understood real estate in theory, but have actually invested. And from I was still paying student loans when we started saving on a side for us to invest in real estate. So I've had to do the hard work to get there. And I can really direct people, and I can basically create a very nice, easily, an easy roadmap that people can follow, whether that's like 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. I think real estate is really a good area to consider in terms of investing. So if that's for you, you can find me in different platforms. Instagram, I go by Wayne Abraha, the name that you see right here. You can Google me. You can also just find, so my Instagram would be Wayne, WEYNI _Abraha, ABRAHA. And we can connect through Instagram, and of course you can find me in different platforms. I use the same name. My brokerage, EXP Realty, it's global, so I can actually help people, whether you're in the States, whether you're in different parts of the world. I can guide you through, and I can always connect you with somebody that's local, while I'm just kind of keeping an eye on the process and guiding you through it. So even if you're not in Canada, I actually do work globally, so please reach out to me no matter where you are.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Wiani, for your time, for offering that we can all reach out to you, and gain from you. Did you really share with us how we can support you, or by following you on those platforms? Would that be a way that we'd be able to support? Would that count?
Yes, that's one way. And share, my, like, this particular conversation that we're having, and just let your contacts know that if they're looking for a real estate agent, they can always reach out to me, and I can always guide them through the process. And I think that's it for now. That's all I would regard for now.
I
Yes.
think that's solid. That's solid. And for sure, I'll also let you know and connect you with people who are interested in acquiring real estate. I really appreciate you for making the time for us to connect today, for us to have this important conversation. And I also thank all our guest members who are on Clubhouse and on YouTube. Thank you so much. Remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. And this is now the end of our time together today. I will see you next week. We do this Monday to Friday, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And these sessions are recorded for the African Father in America podcast, which is available across all podcasting platforms, from Apple Podcast to Amazon Podcast. You can actually listen to this on Alexa, to Spotify, you name it, all the podcasting platforms. So literally in an hour you can listen to this while you're driving to work or while you're in the gym. And truly this would not be possible without my team at One Vibe, Lavender and Steve and Stella. Thank you all so much. Wiani, thank you again. I'll be reaching out to you again soon. I appreciate you deeply.
Thank you.
African Father in America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. Africa, tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. America. Tujikaze, tujikaze, jikaze. You are listening to African Father in America podcast by Simon Javan Okelo, live from Seattle, Washington, USA.